Good morning, everybody. I wanted to do a little mini reading of Ephesians 6 this morning, Ephesians 6:10. Recently at church, our pastor encouraged us to do a study on this little portion of scripture, the whole armor of Yah, the whole armor of God. And those are goats back there. We're on the homestead, as you can see. And so I am. And having quickly read through it and being relatively familiar with it, as familiar as any Christian ought to be with this passage, I wanted to go through and just kind of read it and give you my hot takes, my off the cuff. What does this mean? How do we actually do this? And why would we do this? So first, let's read the passage. So it's Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10, which in the scriptures is page 1141. For the rest, my brothers, be strong in the Master, Yeshua, and in the mightiness of his strength. Put on the complete armor of Elohim, for you have, I rebuke that fumble. Put on the complete armor of Elohim, for you to have power to stand against the schemes of the devil. Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies and high places. Because of this, take up the complete armor of Elohim, so that you have power to withstand in the wicked day, and having done all, to stand. Stand then, having girded your waist with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news. Above all, having taken up the shield of belief, with which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one. Take also the helmet of deliverance, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim, praying at all times, with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, watching in all perseverance and supplication for all the set-apart ones, for all the saints, us. So, why do we need this spiritual armor? As my pastor succinctly put it, this is not the type of threat that can be dealt with a Glock or an AR-15. This is a spiritual battle. This is spiritual warfare. So therefore, we need the complete armor of Elohim so that you have power to withstand in the wicked day, and having done all, to stand. So that we can stand against spiritual wickedness, against evil, against Hasatan, against the enemy, Satan, the Nachash, the enemy, the father of all lies. That a-hole is why we need this. So, what does that actually look like? Take up the complete armor of Elohim. There are 7 elements here. 7 is the number of spiritual perfection on earth, completeness spiritually in us here on earth. So, girded your waist with truth. The first thing that comes to mind here, girded, means to like tie up, the tunic that they wore of the day. When you were about to go to work, you would kind of hike up your man skirt a little bit and tie it up so that you could go get busy, whether it was at work or on the battlefield or whatever, so that you weren't tripping over yourself. So to make ready in truth is what I see there. I'm mindful of putting on my tool belt if I'm going to be working on around here, or putting on my war belt if I'm going to be running drills. And what is the truth? Yeshua is the truth. I am the way, the truth, the life. What's that? John 14:6 says Messiah. So we are to make that preparation. Also to gird your waist. One of the things that comes to mind there is the corruption of seed from the dawn of man. The enemy has been trying to corrupt the Father's perfect plan for us and his seed. He tried to take Yeshua out preemptively in the garden by the sin of Adam and Eve, Adam and Hava. He tried to take Yeshua out with the killing of the firstborn. The fallen angels in Genesis 6 and their offspring, the Nephilim, has all been about corrupted flesh. Noah, in the end days, it'll be like unto the days of Noah. It's the corruption of flesh and that seed. And where does that seed come from? Your waist, or just south of there. And so that also pops into my mind. So with truth and righteousness, keeping the Father's commands, be careful where you're sticking that thing, bro. Gird up your loins in truth. That comes to mind. And again, this is my take. I'm not preaching here. I'm reading, okay, and giving you what comes to the top of my head. And putting on the breastplate of righteousness. Absolutely. What is righteousness? Luke chapter 1, verse 6, blamelessly walking in all the commands of Yahweh. That's righteousness. Genesis, the end of 6, the beginning of verse 7, or beginning of chapter 7. And Noah did all that Yah commanded him to do and was found righteous. So doing the commandments of Yah is righteousness. So to put on the breastplate of righteousness means to arm yourself as a shield against the world with the Father's commands, to walk blamelessly in all the commands of Elohim. Now, we can see in Hebrews 8:10 that the condition of the renewed covenant is that the Father's laws are on our mind and they're in our heart, which is what? The Father's laws are his commands. The breastplate covers the heart. There's congruency here. Throughout this entire book, there's congruency, whether it's Paul teaching, Yeshua teaching, Moshe teaching, Melchizedek teaching Abraham, or Yeshua coming back in end times. There's congruency, there's consistency here. We are to have these laws. Literally, this righteousness is to be imprinted on our heart. And here we're instructed by Rabbi Paul that this is armor unto us. This is our frontal armor, that as the world attacks you, it keeps you from dying. The wages of your sin are death. Lawlessness is sin. Righteousness is blamelessly walking in all the commands and laws of the Father. This is armor, and we're to put that on to shield ourselves from frontal attack. And having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news of peace, the gospel of truth and peace. The feet, and having fitted your feet with the preparation of the gospel, the good news of peace. Well, if a house will not receive you, shake the dust off of your sandals and move on to the next one. Israelites travel. We move about the battle space. That's what we do. People are constantly moving. So prepare your feet, the preparation of the good news. You're supposed to move. You're supposed to go out and engage people with that peace, that good news. What is peace? Yeshua is peace. But peace means to kind of be able to breathe a sigh of relief. And you can do that when you're not terribly worried about a fatal wound being inflicted because you've got your armor on. And it is a weird push-pull. But to me, the indication here is we are supposed to move. And in that movement, we are to share this good news. We are to share the gospel. I believe we are to go out and be the hands and feet of our Messiah. And one of the questions that was posited by our pastor was, how do you do this? Well, for us, a big part of that is mission work. Going and meeting people, meeting their immediate need because their house has been destroyed by a hurricane or a tornado or a flood, helping there so that we have some credence with them. When we meet their physical needs, we can now meet their eternal spiritual needs. And it'll make you weep. It makes me weep all the time. It's incredible. There's a chicken over there trying to lay eggs in the back of my truck, and it's not going well for her. So go spread the good news with your feet. Your feet were made for walking. Use them. They're not made for sitting on your couch. They're not made for sitting in a church pew. They're made for this. Go use it. Above all, having taken up the shield of belief, the shield of faith, which you shall have power to quench all the burning hours of the wicked one. Our faith, our belief is a shield. That as these attacks come, our faith is what cushions us from those blows. That those arrows don't find their way into our vital parts. So it's vitally important that we maintain our faith. I'm a huge fan of Jacob, of James, Yeshua, Jesus' brother. And by grace through faith we are saved. Roger that. Show me your faith, right? Faith without works is dead. I'll show you my faith by my works. And so this shield of faith, for me, again, is going out and doing works Now, you could say that's a works-based theology, to which I would point you to Matthew 7:21. Not everybody who calls me Master, Master shall enter into the reign of heavens. This is your Messiah speaking. But he who hears my word and does them, there is an implicit you must do to have salvation, to be saved. Well, salvation means Yeshua. Yeshua means salvation. So to have your Messiah, yeah, you must do, because it's not enough simply to have the, as it's been called, the mental assent to say, yeah, I acknowledge that Yeshua is Messiah. Copy that. Even the demons know that, and they tremble at his name, and they flee at his name. Are you as good as a demon? No, you must transgress beyond the simple mental assent and get into the doing of. Live a lifestyle that is honorable of your Messiah. And that's what we do. And so a big part of that is missions. Again, going out and doing works and using that shield, because the experiences that I have while doing those works become, to me, it's a repertoire of experience and belief that is unshakable. You might tell me that it's, yeah, I think this God thing's a bunch of BS. And I'm like, sit down and listen. Because I have so much faith, I have so much belief based upon so much experience at this point that it's irrefutable, and it becomes a testimony for me to share with others. Take also the helmet of deliverance. Deliverance is salvation. The helmet of salvation. Yeshua is salvation. Have Yeshua on your mind. Yeshua came to embody, Matthew 5:17, I came not to destroy the Torah or the prophets, but to embody, to complete. The Greek word is plerao. I came to be the Torah and the prophets. And until heaven and earth passes away, not one yod, not one tittle, not the tiniest little mark from the Torah shall pass away till all be done, which is a direct parallel to Deuteronomy 4, chapter 1. You will not add or take away from this word. And so Yeshua, the Word made flesh, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. That's John, which is also echoed in the book of Revelation, Revelation 19. And he who sat upon the white horse and wielded the sword with which to judge the world based upon righteousness, his name was the Word of God. Go away, turkey. I'm trying to, literally, it's a turkey. Got him. That beer can was from last night. That's a guinea hen. Highly recommended you never acquire one. They suck. So, this helmet of deliverance, get back to the terms of our renewed agreement with the Most High Father Yah, that we would have his laws on our mind and written on our heart. Yeshua is those laws. The helmet of salvation is the helmet of Yeshua. Salvation and Yeshua are the same word, just big H, little h. It's the same word in Hebrew. And so this helmet of deliverance, put Yeshua on your mind. And that could be to be thinking along the lines of WWJD, WWYD, what would Yeshua do? But also, what did he teach? How should I live my life? What he taught was, this doctrine is not mine, it comes from the Father. These are the Father's rules, the Father's laws. So that, to me, the helmet of deliverance, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of spirit, which is the word of Elohim. Well, sword is used for doing battle, okay? If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. We can see, and I'll put a bow on this because my family approacheth, but in Revelation 19, real quick. Hello, doggo. Thank you for your licks. Okay, be gone, dog. Really.
Come on, Sam.
Revelation 19, verse 11, and we'll work through that real quick. And I saw the heaven open, and there was a white horse, and he who sat on him was called trustworthy and true, faithful and true. This is Yeshua. And in righteousness he judges and makes war. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, having a name that had been written, which no one had perceived except himself, and having been dressed in a robe dipped in blood. And his name is called the Word of Yahweh. The word of the Lord. And the armies in the heavens, dressed in fine linen, white and clean, followed him on white horses. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall shepherd them with a rod of iron. And he treads the winepress of fierceness and wrath of El Shaddai, of Father Yah. So this sword of righteousness, what are we supposed to do with the sword? Well, a sword is an offensive weapon. It can be used defensively, but it's an offensive weapon. That when we are attacked, we have our armor, we have our convictions, we have our helmet, we have our breastplate, we have our shield, we've girded our waist with the belt of truth. As we're taking these hits defensively, we can go on the offensive and attack. Be not just hearers of my word, but doers also. Attack. Ambush the ambusher. So how do we do this? To me, is pretty clear. Walking blamelessly in the commands of Yah, keeping Yeshua on our heart and in our mind, keeping the Father's commands on our heart and in our mind, and going out and doing, being not just hearers of the word, but doers also. That's what I got. Shalom, y'all.